Hi, good evening. Welcome back to yet another show on the Web Healing Show. Today's topic that I have selected deliberately is the transition from tightrope walk to the comfort cruise. I want you to imagine that you're driving, or rather, somebody's driving you on a very comfortable, smooth, super express highway, and you're going on and on and on and on for days together. Are you going to completely enjoy that? And on the contrary, just imagine that you're going through an adventure trip, where the roads are going up and down and they're taking twists and turns, and you have to keep referring to the map and keep finding your direction and fine tuning it time and again. Would you like that adventure? Well, a lot depends upon the kind of personality you have. So there are some people who love adventure. And there are some people who love comforts. Now, people who love adventure manage to find out the most adventurous ways. So, even things are simple, they'll make it adventurous. The classical example is procrastination. Okay, just procrastinate till the time you have no choice, and then stay overnight awake and complete the project and say, hey, I made it. I made it in just a few hours, which was a few months backlog. And you feel so high because you love this adrenaline pumping in. And for that adrenaline, you would keep procrastinating and creating stress for the last moment. And I'll tell you, if something that is very, very addictive in your space, that is the addiction of stress. And that stress you get through tightrope walk. So, what is that tightrope walk? It's not that circus, okay, where you're walking on a thin rope in a very dangerous or adventurous way. We do this kind of adventures every day. I am born and brought up in Mumbai, and I've seen Mumbaiites how they travel. So, if they have to reach office at 9 o'clock, they start at 7:37 so that they reach the station at 7:38 so that they get the church gate fast at 7:39. And if they miss that train, that means they will miss the connecting bus to go to their office and they will report late. So they have to manage every second, every minute. They don't have time even to wait for a minute and say hi to your friend and exchange some good uh, conversation. No, they won't wait because few seconds delay could cost them a train or a day's salary. And yet they wouldn't plan their trip just 3 to 5 minutes in advance. They won't do that. They'll pack up every minute of their lives. I was one of them, not so bad, but I've done that pretty often. And I'm known for being punctual. However, it would be stressful to remain punctual because I would just pack it up. There's so much of need and greed both to make the best out of every minute. So if I have 2 minutes extra after I've got ready, I will do several other things, call a few people, manage the rest of the things. So I pack my day from minute to minute to minute. And eventually, a little derailing would create so much of stress. So it could be time management, tightrope walking. It could be sometimes finance management, tightrope walking. I see that so often happening. So even if you have, doesn't matter what you have, how much salary you have, how much money you have, how much income you have, you can create a tightrope walk with that amount of money. Before even money comes in your pocket, you have outgoings ready, credit card bills pending, mortgages to be paid. And at the end of it, you just have very limited amount just for your survival. And if you happen to splurge one fine day. Now, rest of the month goes juggling with remaining finances. And then you feel, aha, I managed this month. Now let's see what happens next month. And you spend your entire life trying to do tightrope walking with your finances. I've seen this happening with even people who are earning very, very decent salary and doing a good business, yet they will somehow manage to create a very lean financial situation for themselves personally. And I see, and I call that a tightrope walk. And it's interesting how we manage that. Some people do that with relationships. So if you happen to be very friendly with one person, the other person will get affected. If you're happy and friendly with the second person, the first one gets affected. And you have to keep juggling your way, trying to manage between two people and your relationship with two people. How do we manifest that? Why do we do this? Why do we put ourselves in this position? Somewhere we get thrill out of these small little, resource management, time management, relationship management, skills management. We just have enough supply to manage for the day or manage for the moment, and you're all the time on oxygen. Why do we really need that? Can we opt for a better lifestyle? Can we do something better with the extra comfort that we can have? It's a matter of choice. It may take a little time, but you have to intend one fine day to take life easy. We think that we are being very, very productive by all the time being on our toes, but that's not the case. In fact, a lot of time gets wasted in trying to manage self created lean resources. Do we really need that? Can we have a better lifestyle where all that you wish you can avail in an easy, effortless, and comfortable way? Can we make a choice of enjoying a comfort cruise rather than a tight rope walk? People who often do tightrope walk have pains. When you do too much of it, and if it's not really helpful, the body will scream with the pain in those dimples, near your lower buttocks, near sacroiliac joints. And when that starts hurting, remember, it's time to stop your tightrope walking. Now, you may come and say, you're not in my position. If you were getting the kind of salary I'm getting, and if you had to manage the number of family members that I am managing, you would know what is it to have a tightrope walking. And trust, it is not about you. It's not about your income. It's not about your available time. It's your choices that you have made. It's the habit and an addiction to have lack and enjoying the growth that spurts from that moment of lack. That makes you go through the lean finances, lean resources, open up to the possibility of growing very well in life in a very, very comfortable manner, and watch the magic. I've seen so many of my students, friends, colleagues eventually realizing and shifting their lifestyle. If not now, when are you going to do that? So think for a moment and get ready for radical recitation. I'm going to recite a few of the statements that can help you with your tightrope walk and convert your tightrope walk into a comfort cruise. I'll deliberately say the statement slightly slow, as well as leave a little gap in between so that you can recite after me. And if this talk and this statements resonates with you, you should actually listen to it at least for 21 days and recite the statements 21 times to get the maximum effect to the time the habit changes. If you're ready, just close your eyes and start taking a few deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Continue breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. Breathe in a lot of positive energy and breathe out your need for stresses and your need for tightrope walking. Continue breathing in and breathing out. Breathing comforts and breathe out stresses. Slowly recite after me. I revive my tight rope walk. I recognize my tight rope walk. I realign my tight rope walk. I reorient my tight rope walk. I reposition my tight rope walk. I revive my need for tightrope walk. I recognize my need for the tightrope walk. I realign my need for the tightrope walk. I reorient my need for the tightrope walk. I reposition my need for the tightrope walk. I revive my resistance to the comfort cruise. I recognize my resistance for the comfort cruise. I realign my resistance to the comfort cruise. I reorient my resistance to the comfort cruise. I reposition my resistance to the comfort cruise. I revive my stresses. I recognize my stresses. I realign my stresses. I reorient my stresses. I reposition my stresses. I revive my need for stress. I recognize my need for stress. I realign my need for stress. I reorient my need for stress. I reposition my need for stress. I revive my resistance to comfortable life. I recognize my resistance to the comfortable life. I realign my resistance to the comfortable life. I reorient my resistance to the comfortable life. I reposition my resistance to the comfortable life. I revive my association of stress with growth. I recognize my association of stress with growth. I realign my association of stress with growth. I reorient my association of stress with growth. I reposition my association of stress with growth. I revive my fear of getting stagnated. I recognize my fear of getting stagnated. I realign my fear of getting stagnated. I reorient my fear of getting stagnated. I reposition my fear of getting stagnated. I revive my need for lack. I recognize my need for the lack. I realign my need for the lack. I reorient my need for the lack. I reposition my need for the lack. I revive my need for lack. I recognize my need to experience lack. I realign my need to experience lack. I reorient my need to experience lack. I reposition my need to experience lack. I revive my need to create scarcity. I recognize my need to create the scarcity. I realign my need to create the scarcity. I reorient my need to create the scarcity. I reposition my need to create the scarcity. I revive my need to thrive on scarcity. I recognize my need to thrive on scarcity. I realign my need to thrive on scarcity. I reorient my need to thrive on scarcity. I reposition my need to thrive on scarcity. I revive my resistance to let go of the scarcity. I recognize my resistance to let go of the scarcity. I realign my resistance to let go of the scarcity. I reorient my resistance to let go of the scarcity. I reposition my resistance to let go of the scarcity. I revive my need for abundance. I recognize my need for abundance. I realign my need for abundance. I reorient my need for abundance. I reposition my need for abundance. I revive my habit of juggling. I recognize my habit of juggling. I realign my habit of juggling. I reorient my habit of juggling. I reposition my habit of juggling. I revive my habit of stressful life. I recognize my habit of stressful life. I realign my habit of stressful life. I reorient my habit of stressful life. I reposition my habit of stressful life. I revive my fear of relaxing. I recognize my fear of relaxing. I realign my fear of relaxing. I reorient my fear of relaxing. I reposition my fear of relaxing. I revive my fear of taking life easy. I recognize my fear of taking life easy. I realign my fear of taking life easy. I reorient my fear of taking life easy. I reposition my fear of taking life easy. I revive my self worth. I recognize my self worth. I realign my self worth. I reorient my self worth. I reposition my self worth. I revive my worthiness to enjoy comforts. I recognize my worthiness to enjoy comforts. I realign my worthiness to enjoy comfort. I reorient my worthiness to enjoy comforts. I reposition my worthiness to enjoy comfort. I revive my allowance of the comforts. I recognize my allowance of the comforts. I realign my allowance of the comfort. I reorient my allowance of the comforts. I reposition my allowance of the comforts. I revive the comforts. I recognize the comforts. I realign the comforts. I reorient the comforts. I reposition the comforts. I revive the comfort cruise called life. I recognize the comfort cruise called life. I realign the comfort cruise called life. I reorient the comfort cruise called life. I reposition the comfort cruise called life. Thank you for joining. This is Atman Parmar. Stay tuned and keep listening. See you tomorrow at 6 p.m. India time. Thank you.